What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Monday, May 3rd edition of Level Up Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. And that dude joining me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, the king of the courtside king, Joey. What's up, buddy?
Just like the shrouded ghost on the seas, I say. I'm doing all right. It has been a day. I did not sleep last night. I got like an hour and a half of sleep, so I don't know if it was the thrashing that John gave me in MLB The Show that kept me up, or if there's just too many ideas going on, but I could not sleep last night. The good news, though, last week I did break 50,000 gamer score, so super excited about that, as well as the fact there's a lot of gaming news coming this week.
And Joey celebrated by getting absolutely demolished by my Diamond Dynasty team in MLB The Show. Thank you very much. Joe, I hope I didn't give you too many nightmares. So actually, you didn't sleep, so you didn't have any nightmares at all.
Exactly. No nightmares, at least.
Nation, follow the trash talking that is Diamond Dynasty and MLB The Show between Joey and myself. Follow us at Courtside King and at Fiasco on Twitter. And while you're on Twitter, you might as well be following the show. I mean, you're already here already. You're listening. You're watching. If you're brand new to the show, welcome. Follow us on social media. It's not a demand. It's a very strong suggestion. You can follow the show at Level Up Live on Twitter and Facebook. That's at Level Up Live, at LVLUP Live. Nation, there is a podcast version of the show. Level Up Live is available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher under the name of the Level Up Podcast. Very convenient, right? Level Up, you keep it in there, just switch out live for podcast. It's perfect. It's perfect. Joey, great marketing right there. And while you're listening to the podcast version of the show, why not leave us a review? Reviews do go a long way in helping grow the audience and reach new listeners. But most importantly, those reviews give us that critical feedback we want to make the show what you, the listeners and viewers, want the most. So we do take all of those suggestions into consideration. All right, Joey. It's May. It's May 3rd. Tomorrow's a big day. It's May the 4th. So, Joey, in early May the 4th be with you. And yeah, I'm excited. Let's get the show going. What are we talking about this week?
Absolutely. We're going to touch on a couple acquisitions, not going to spend a ton of time up there. Then we're going to roll into some partnerships, one involving NASCAR that I know John is pretty stoked about. We're going to talk a little bit about Epic versus Apple, some E3 2021 updates, some Xbox and PlayStation updates from games to services, diving a bit into that, as well as Microsoft reaffirming their commitment for PC gaming as well. From there, we're going to slide on the way down and talk about some game updates, maybe touch on some Star Wars stuff you guys may see tomorrow as well, and then diving into a couple more upcoming things before we slide into esports, which we have a little bit of Overwatch League and some League of Legends on the radar for today.
All right. So we have a ballpark, a buffet of topics, if you will, that we will nibble on as we go down the buffet line here today, Joey. But first, with every buffet comes a good drink, and with every good show comes a great drink of choice. So, Joey, your beverage for today's episode.
I'm lame tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh.
I'm going with a grapefruit sparkling water. I have a bunch of headache medicine camera. I just took before this podcast, so I decided not to couple it with alcohol because I want to try to sleep tonight. So we're just going to go simple this time. But John's got my back, I'm sure. You're going to come through in the clutch just like you did last night in our MLB The Show match. What you got?
Come through in the clutch. You're talking about that grand slam I smacked off you? You even
I was thinking more of that walk-off home run, but
oh yeah, that walk-off was nice too, right? You liked that, huh?
I did. That's one way to put it.
My Mandalorian tumbler right here, or whatever it's called, that is a whiskey sour, sir. So a whiskey sour. Hold on a second.
A little side of Bantha in there.
A little side of 6-0 shutout baseball against you, Joey.
Oh my gosh.
Which was one of the scores.
One run in that game.
There was a 6-0 game in there. I checked the scores.
I think there were 2 6-1s, but there might have been. I mean, I wouldn't put it past myself at all.
6-1 was the game that got disconnected by the amazing servers from Sony, which we really do appreciate. Servers working on our online games. Joey, this is not a hate on Sony servers podcast, even though I'm pretty sure we could
we all have our struggles here and there. Those MLB The Show servers definitely feeling the Game Pass effect, as they call it.
Absolutely. So, Joe, we have our topics. I have my beverage. You have sparkling water. Let's get into it. Let's get right into it. Let's get into gaming and esports. Let's go.
Absolutely. Kicking things off with just a couple industry acquisitions. We're going to start it off with EA. They have acquired popular mobile game developer Glue Mobile. I believe they announced this I want to say it was 9 months ago at this point. It does take time for these deals to go through. It is now official, and they are part of the EA family. For those who don't know what Glue Mobile is, they're known for games like Diner Dash is really popular, that Kim Kardashian game that I don't really know what you do in it, but it's extremely popular. Quiz Up is under them, Disney Sorcerer Arena, and I think they do Tap Baseball as well, if I remember correctly. So there's a number of different games out there, a lot of popular ones. If you look at them, there's a good chance that Glue or Zynga or someone like that is involved in them. Glue being one of those big ones. So what does this mean for EA? Well, one, it allows them to jump right into that marketing as far as mobile game development. They have a couple out there already, but they're not as big. So now you have the ability to say in their earnings call in like January or February, they already came out and said, we're going to develop more mobile games. We're going to take stuff like Battlefield and stuff like Apex and some of our sport titles to the mobile platform. Now, instead of building up a team and trying to learn that from the ground up, they went out and acquired a team and they already have the ground started on it already.
Yeah, it's a solid move. Kim Kardashian's game, Joey, I was kind of hoping you were going to dive more into that. I was very curious if that would be the second mobile title that I install on my phone and play for months on end. I really am not sold on it so far based upon your description. I'm not even sure what it is, but the fact that, Joey, this might be the first time we've ever said Kim Kardashian's name on this show. I don't like it. It's weird. Please make it stop.
I just spelled Kardashian wrong trying to search for this game, by the way. So that shows how credible we are on this topic. Kim Kardashian Hollywood. You do not have any devices that can run this app.
Good thing.
Give yourself a makeover and live your best Hollywood life. John, I don't know. This one could be calling you.
So it's literally like that be a YouTube creator simulation that came out a couple of years ago. Also, those like, become a YouTube content creator and pack up your bags from, the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, and move to Los Angeles and become an influencer. Yeah, no, thank you.
Well, that's a thing, apparently. So that's happening. This falls in line, like as we said, with EA's idea to publish more games mobilely. So probably look for Glue to be involved in, I would say, like a FIFA mobile that gets some kind of updated version. Maybe it's the same simulation. Maybe it's a completely different take on the FIFA IP. With EA, I wouldn't think it's going to be too crazy, but that is one thing to look forward to as they try to translate more of their games and IPs over to the mobile platform. Glue should give them a little bit of a leg up on some of the competition in that area. Over to our last acquisition of the day, that is Facebook. They've acquired Downpour Interactive as part of their Oculus division, trying to continue to push that VR tech forward for them under that umbrella. They're most known for Onward. It's a military first-person shooter game. I have not played it. I don't own VR, John. I don't believe you own VR either at this point. But it is one of those things that if you talk to some people in the industry, they're going to tell you VR is the next big thing. Other people are going to say it's really not. It's more of an AR, if anything, at least for the next decade or so. So it really depends who you talk to. At the same point, when you look at VR, you have stuff like the HTC Vive, you have stuff like Oculus, obviously here in this one with Facebook, where certain companies are continuing to try to push that envelope forward. Oculus, Facebook trying to continue really to, I don't know if we'd call them in the lead at this point, but continuing to establish their margin within it, trying to continue to pull out their market share. And this is another way to do it. Pull someone from a popular title like you have here with Onward, see what else they can develop with a bit more funding behind them. Nothing else on our overlords over there at Facebook?
No comment.
No comment. We're going to keep it rolling. Partnerships. John, this one will rev up your engines. Rocket League and NASCAR are partnering up to roll out a new collaboration that will see 9 team-sponsored cars included in the game and available to purchase starting this Thursday, which I believe is the 5th or 6th? The 6th, May 6th, for those listening down the road on the podcast later. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? We've seen Rocket League partner up before. I think the most recent one added like a Ford truck in, if I remember correctly. So now a little bit of a changeover, switching to a race car format, adding NASCAR in here for Rocket League. It kind of fits with that mantra that we already see in Rocket League, but again, it does bring some more of that branding in as well.
Joey, this move makes no sense. I'm going to tell you why real quick. Number one, Rocket League makes more than just left turns. I just don't understand how NASCAR has even found this game. The fact that the cars can fly, they use rocket power, which let's believe. I believe in NASCAR, they have a thing called a restrictor plate, which actually limits how fast the car can go. NASCAR is so anti-Rocket League in everything it does. Rocket League flies. They encourage you going fast. They encourage blowing another car up. They encourage flying in the car, scoring goals. NASCAR goes around in a big freaking circle 500 times and people pay for it. Joey, my question here is, the people who watch NASCAR, do they even own a computer or a console to play Rocket League? They probably do, Joey. It's just a stereotype I was going off of. It's a joke. It's a joke, Joey. So the whole thing is, I get it. I don't like it. I think it's dumb. Again, I get it from a marketing standpoint, but I'm sorry. When I think Rocket League, I don't think NASCAR. I'm not why? I just, is there really, I would love to see their market research on this. Is there an actual large enough audience to warrant a partnership between NASCAR and Rocket League that's actually going to be mutually beneficial? I don't know. I don't have those numbers. I don't have the market research. I don't have the test studies. I don't have any of it. So I couldn't sit here and tell you if there is or isn't. But using common sense, I don't see how this even makes sense. Other than the fact that it's just a sponsorship, it's a big name coming to Rocket League. And that's about it. I think the Ford F-150 makes more sense than bringing NASCAR into this. I don't know. I don't like NASCAR, and I'm probably being biased. So, Joey, feel free to correct me, but I think this is dumb.
Yeah, I'm not a big NASCAR fan myself. I do like this partnership overall, though. Now, it comes down to that market research. What is the crossover going to be? Are we going to see NASCAR fans starting to flock to Rocket League? Are we going to see Rocket League fans who are already NASCAR fans that we just didn't know? Maybe there's some crossover there. We really don't 100% know. But from the side of Psyonix and the side of NASCAR, I don't think you necessarily lose anything with a partnership like this. With Psyonix, maybe you pull in some new players that are NASCAR fans and they see some kind of cooperative advertisement going on. For NASCAR, you're probably looking for a younger audience as well, continuing to develop your audience for years to come. What better way than to go to one of the most popular titles out there in Rocket League? Now, again, you could also argue something like a Forza might be better, or a Gran Turismo, something that is a little bit more racing based. At the same point, I don't think there's any harm necessarily in moving your boundaries forward a little bit. This to me makes more sense than jumping to something like a Call of Duty or an Overwatch or some title that doesn't necessarily relevate in terms of cars. But at the same point, yeah, I don't know what the overall crossover will be. I'm just, from the negative standpoint, I'm not really seeing too many negatives to it. So at best, you end up with some new players and you end up with some new fans for both sides. At worst, you don't really end up losing too much in this partnership from my standpoint.
I'm gonna tell you exactly how it fits for Call of Duty, Joey. Are you ready for this?
Oh, here we go.
The game starts. Opening scene. You're a professional NASCAR driver, retired Army Special Forces. You're in your second career. You're driving a NASCAR car. You're going around in circles because you think this is a darn tootin' good time. Just going around in circles, left and right, sponsored by John Deere. It's absolutely fantastic. And then all of a sudden, pick an evil country. I'll let you, the listener or viewer, decide what country it is. Sneak attack. Blows up the NASCAR track. You're the only person who survived. But lucky enough, in the back of your NASCAR, you have yourself an M16, and you pull it out, and all of a sudden you go back into war mode, face paint on, and then boom, you dive back in, you break out your radio, and you go, breaker, breaker, get me connected to the Navy SEALs, and then boom, you're back in action. Then you get recalled. The next thing you know, you're in the White House meeting with the commander-in-chief, and then you're going to war again. That's how it works for Call of Duty, Joey.
Kind of reminds me of, I don't know if it was Iron Man 2 or Iron Man 3, but there was a scene there on a racetrack where we kind of had not quite that happen in a military aspect, but certain scenes that were a little bit comparable to that. But yeah, I see where you're coming from now. I don't know if that works as far as a microtransaction partnership, but I see where you're coming from.
You can, for $4.99, you can choose what car on what racing team and your car number for your avatar in game to be. There you go. Microtransactions right there.
Wow, that's adorable. From the microtransaction king himself, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. A couple other partnerships in the works. We talked about this one. I don't remember if this was announced in January or October, but it is now looping back around with a trailer. This is League of Legends dropping a new trailer for an upcoming Netflix series. It's said to be dropping in the fall. Its name is Arcane. I actually don't know how long this trailer is. I think it's super short, so you can pull it up if you want to, but if not, no worries. Overall, guys, you should check it out. League of Legends being one of those popular IPs out there as far as video games currently throughout the world. So extremely popular on any level. It's also moved to mobile devices now with Wild Rift for those who don't pay attention to it or play it. So overall, it's going to be a big release. Dota already had a release in March For Netflix, it did pretty well, and I expect League of Legends to do even better than that when it eventually drops later this fall.
It's 18 seconds long, right?
I don't know,
I have the
actually.
correct one here.
It might be. It was like a little teaser thing.
Yeah, okay. I think I have it here. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and transition this this bad boy over. We'll do a little little clip in here. Okay, here we go. And just like that, it's over. Quite possibly my most favorite trailer ever. Short, sweet, and to the point.
Yeah, very simple. It spells out arcane. It kind of has like that cyberpunky feel. I believe it's based in Ionia, given some of the characters shown there, but it should be good. Again, League of Legends, super popular IP. Now you're getting your first look, I mean, outside of CGI trailers, that is, of a certain animated series here. So I think it'll be good. Again, dropping later this fall, partnered up with Netflix. Okay, this next one is interesting, and a lot of people are taking it way out of context. So we're going to dive into it a little bit. Sony has announced a new partnership with Discord that will begin integrating Discord into PlayStation social systems beginning next year. So looking at this, guys, this has become like a very big fanboy thing on Twitter right now, where everyone Sony is like, Microsoft tries to acquire Discord. Discord partners with PlayStation. The thing a lot of people are not paying attention to is Discord already has a partnership with Microsoft still in place, and they're still developing all the same stuff mentioned here. So it's not really like one is getting it and the other is not. They're both going to end up getting these integrations. Now, there might be a couple different things that come through here and there, and that's fine. But overall, the basic idea here is for it to match up on both platforms. And this is not going to be just a Sony exclusive thing or just a Sony and Microsoft exclusive thing. Discord wants to be everywhere. Their big goal here is to grow their user base and eventually monetize it, which they've struggled to so far. They want to be on Nintendo Switch. They want to be on Sega Genesis if it ever comes back. They want to be on whatever console and platform they can, whatever mobile device is available. They're on the major ones already as far as Android and iOS, but they want to be on every single platform, and they want to integrate it as well as possible. Because the better integration, the more fact that you're probably going to use it, and then you're going to use it and integrate more into your communities, and then you're going to be willing to pay and eventually monetize them. That's all they care about. They could care less if Sony wants to give them a little bit of funding for a few more features here and there, or if Xbox wants to come over here. They've already turned down the acquisition. Now, they could go back if they do IPO and say, hey, we're worth more than the $12 billion or whatever they offered. What are you guys willing to pay now? That's a whole different topic. But as far as this goes, this is not a Sony exclusive integration, and I know people want to champion it as that, but guys, the bigger picture here, and I know we don't have too many crazy fanboys that listen to this podcast, at least I'm hoping we don't, but the bigger picture here is the cross-play enable action that's going to come from this. Because now this means like John on a PlayStation or me on an Xbox or whoever potentially on a Nintendo Switch down the road, and then PC gamers, everyone can play together with Discord potentially integrated, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but a couple years down the road. It becomes a lot easier for cross-play to become, I mean, it's becoming a standard, but it's not quite a standard as of yet. So as we see stuff like MLB The Show push it forward, maybe we eventually get FIFA and NBA 2K and some of these other sports games from EA and Take-Two eventually moving that direction. And I think eventually crossplay will become more and more of a standard thing.
But Joey, I think you're forgetting the one major thing here. Sony is developing this with Discord first. They put out a fancy press release. It's essentially Sony's brainchild. They said, hey, we would love to integrate with Discord. And then Xbox was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, too. That's why we started doing it like 3-4 months earlier. But Sony announced it in a professional manner. Therefore, Sony gets credit for creating this idea, much like backwards compatibility and cross-platform play. All brainchilds of the amazing people at Sony. Because we all know it's not official unless you make a very, very cocky press release claiming that you did it first. So congratulations to Sony on reaching out to Discord. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Shame on you, Microsoft. I even picked up your console and you're letting Sony beat you at everything now. This is all pure sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, so Microsoft and Discord partnered up. I believe it was like April 2018, if I remember correctly. So far you have that integration, like where you can see the gamer tag on Discord, and I think Sony will include that, but I think they're going to go deeper as they're building out with Microsoft as well. I think Discord's main goal, whether both adopt this or not, I'm not sure if it'll go through, but Xbox has communities, and I think, is it called communities on PlayStation as well? Is that their like group feature?
I'll be honest, I don't remember. I, I had my friend group. We were all friends on PlayStation Network, and we left it there. Yeah.
Okay, so there's like clubs or communities or something like that. I think what Discord's main goal here is to eventually overtake those and become kind of like the clubs or communities for those consoles, and then eventually maybe even overtake the voice chat as well, and to become that main voice chat integration over like Xbox Live party chats or PlayStation party chats or whatever. Nintendo, I don't even know if they have party chats at this point. So eventually, if Discord gets their way, they're going to further integrate into these, and it's going to come down to Microsoft and Sony kind of allowing that, as opposed to that Discord only seeking out one of them. They're going to search out as many as they can. And I really don't think there's anything else to touch on there. I don't think it's any deeper than people want it to be. I think it's great for gamers. I think it's another way to, again, push forward that cross-platform capability, that cross-play communication integration. I think it's just going to make it easier and easier to connect with friends. So I think it's a win for everyone here.
It's a power move from Sony. Well done.
In other news, Epic versus Apple, it's continuing, and it is becoming an epic court case, a little pun intended there. It's in full swing with a number of confidential documents coming out in court late last week, Thursday and Friday, as well as a few dropping this Monday. John, we'll continue to keep an eye on it. It's kind of developing. I don't know if you want to say too much now. We've been following it from the start when it started up last fall. It is a giant mess, to say the least. There are... let's say flaws with both sides, arguments here and there. Apple being very much in defense of their App Store policies, taking a number of a high percentage, I believe it's like 30% from developers, and that includes your in-game in-game microtransactions as well as any upfront app purchases. On top of that, Apple very stringent with the way things have to be reviewed for the App Store. And they're citing, in my opinion, good things in certain senses, like the safety of their customers is obviously a big one. But there's a number of other little... we'll call them areas with a little bit of blemishes in them with the way Apple comes out and says it based on agreements they've made with other companies. And a lot of that is now coming out in court. On the Epic side, I feel like they have not been the best either. They intentionally went around Apple's back to begin things off and changed it so that people could go to their own website to get the Fortnite, I believe the in-game cosmetic or currencies, the V-Bucks. They ended up switching the pricing on Apple stores without getting it approved by Apple, saying, hey, you can get it at a cheaper price if you come to our store directly. That went behind Apple's policies. Apple removed them from the App Store. Eventually, you saw Google remove them from the Play Store as well. And then we come to today where all this is happening. So It's a giant mess, John. I mean, what do you want to touch on as far as this goes? I know a lot is still kind of coming out in court, so we don't have everything yet.
Yeah, I think the one big thing to remind people of, this is Apple, a multi-billion-dollar corporation, going up against Epic, another multi-billion-dollar corporation, fighting over 30% of in-game transactions. And look, I get it. You're a multi-billion-dollar company for a reason. 30% is like hundreds of millions of dollars. I get it. It makes complete sense. It's a little childish. It really is. I'm going to date myself here a little bit, Joe. Remember that Bowling for Soup song, High School Never Ends? That's what it kind of feels like. It kind of feels like it's like the battle of the nerds from high school. Now that they're in charge of multi-billion-dollar corporations, they're trying to, figure out whose nerdism is bigger than the other nerd. And it's just so stupid. What I find interesting is they are airing out all sorts of dirty laundry. They've brought Sony into it. They have brought Microsoft into it. I mean, there are companies that had nothing to do with this lawsuit between Epic and Apple that are being brought up. And we're talking not just documents. We're talking emails. We're talking marketing plans. We're talking about strategy. We're talking about things that literally in the lower left-hand corner says highly confidential, do not look at, if you're not so-and-so kind of thing. It's absolutely insane. One, how a lot of these companies deal with each other, how they refuse to look at like mutually beneficial propositions. And it's literally capitalism at its finest. It's, I have something you want, you're going to pay me top dollar, and you're going to play by my rules if you want access to it, which I'm not saying is a good or a bad thing, but it's multi-billion-dollar companies literally acting like 5-year-olds over someone ate my favorite lollipop is essentially what it feels like. It's a little ridiculous. Both sides are very I don't know if we can use the term we used on Discord when we were chatting earlier today, but let's just say childish is a very socially acceptable terminology on how they're acting right now. It's really irritating to see corporations act like this. But I mean, it's literally how everyone views corporations. Like, it is the stereotype of how you think a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation would handle something like this. It's a bunch of people saying, no, it's my ball, I'm going home with my ball, and if you don't want to play by my rules, you're not going to play with me again, kind of thing. Obviously, it's a little bit more intense than that because it is millions and billions of dollars being talked about, but it is still unfolding. The dirty laundry is being aired out publicly. It's quite entertaining to see what happens when the curtain's pulled back with some of these corporations, and you can literally see everything and see how vulnerable they really are. It's fascinating. So I'm very interested in seeing how this develops.
But guys, like, seriously, there is so much coming out across the industry with this. Like, it started out as Epic versus Apple. Then you had a couple people like Google and Microsoft get involved a little bit here and there. But overall, there's just so much coming out. Like crossplay, for example. Sony charges Epic for crossplay. That came out in this court case, that Sony charges them. They're the only company that charges for crossplay, but Sony charges them a bill for it. And then there's other stuff coming out as well. And it's crazy, some of the stuff that is coming out from this stuff. And it's like, wow, this is what's going on behind the scenes. And it makes sense. Like, it's a very corporate world out there, but it's just very interesting. Like Epic, for example, one of the things that has come out so far is that like 97% or something of their revenue is from Fortnite. And that includes Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine is only making like something around 3% of their revenue. Like overall, it's 95 or higher. I don't remember the exact percentage, is all Fortnite revenue. So they're so dependent on that game. And that's another reason this court case means so much to them as well. So it's fascinating, from the PlayStation stuff to any kind of Microsoft stuff to Google stuff, because everyone is getting looped in because they're bringing in all the store policies. Because Apple has this 30%, and they're saying, well, now you have to compare it with Epic Game Store and with Steam and with the Microsoft Store and PC. And then they pulled in the PlayStation Store and the Xbox Store, and those percentages are 30 as well. So do they need to change as well? Or is Apple needing to change just because it's mobile and it's kind of its own platform and it's non-competitive? So it's just, there's so much back and forth. There's so much coming out. And as John said, there are so many different confidential documents becoming unredacted at this point.
So good.
Where so many like industry secrets or industry really knowable, I don't even know what you call them at this point, like information as far as back end and stuff of the industry, as far as like percentages being made, as far as revenue being made, as far as these like back secret deals that are being made, and the way some of these contracts are written in some ways to bump up your own platform, but also to take down or even out your composition up against the other with your opposition as well. So it is very interesting. It's definitely worth paying attention to. And guys, as more comes out, we'll break it down a little bit deeper as far as like some clean bullet points, as opposed to us just kind of fawning over what's going on. But definitely want to keep an eye forward too, because it could very well drastically change store prices out there for gamers. E3 2021, just a quick update on this. Konami has pulled out of E3 2021. They might not be the last ones to do so. They've stated that they will not be ready to present at E3 this year. They have at least 2 or 3 different projects in development right now that I've heard of. Overall, those projects are coming along, and I thought one of them would have been ready to show, but apparently it will not be. Now, just because they're pulling out of E3 does not mean they might not come back next month in, say, July or later in June and show up at like a Summer Game Fest or a Sony show or EA Play show or something like that. So that's always a possibility, but they will not be participating in E3 2021 this year. Keeping the news rolling, Xbox announced an additional 70-plus titles will be getting FPS boosts from 30 frames per second to 60 to 120 frames per second on next-gen consoles. That's going to bring their total up to about 100 games. There are 97 in total to be exact. all free of charge for the player preference. Again, I don't think we have to hit on a ton here. I'm so tired today overall. But as PC gamers, we look at something like 30 frames per second, or 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, et cetera, as kind of very low. Us as PC gamers, we're used to a lot higher, whether it be up in the 200s, whether it be even closer to 300s, depending on your capabilities of your PC. For consoles, the standard has been 30 frames per second all through last generation. So this is a big deal for console gamers who might want to be a little nostalgic and go back through some of these older games, whether they were Xbox 360 or OG Xbox games. Again, some of these cross-released on PlayStation and Nintendo as well. But having that ability to go back and now play these at these boosted frames per second, kind of getting them in a new light, as well as other graphical improvements and the load time improvements and all of that coming in as well. I think this is great. And again, it speaks to Xbox going in and really finding ways to kind of create history or really refine history back then. So continuing to move video games forward where you can still access that stuff from those OG Xbox days or those Xbox 360 days without having to go into a GameStop and look through a bargain bin to find a disc. So I think it's a big win overall. Again, it's not something that's going to be like ground shattering, but it is a good way for people to continue to play through their old collections, and it's made free and available. So I kind of like it all around.
I do have to say there is one part of your dissertation there I found really funny.
The fact that I'm like slurring my words from how tired I am.
No, the fact that you said GameStop still has discount bins. I was in a discount. I was in a GameStop the other day. Definitely did not have a discount bin anymore. GameStop is. How are they still around, Joey? I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
Still pumping their thing, at least for now. We'll see what happens. They're relying a lot on Reddit, it feels like nowadays, but we'll see how long that lasts. Sticking with Microsoft, switching from Xbox consoles to PC gaming, Microsoft released a blog post last week kind of reaffirming their thoughts on PC gaming, what it means to them and what they're going to continue to bring from 2021 onward. Just to hit on a couple things, this first one being a big thing for PC gamers, Microsoft is working on a full Microsoft Store overhaul on Windows. So the main thing behind this is, hey, we're currently not competitive at all. Everyone is choosing Steam, and if they're not choosing Steam, they're choosing Epic, whether it be for the free games or for whatever integrations they have over there. And then the Microsoft Store is like third or fourth fiddle, depending on what kind of game they're playing. So what are they going to do? They're looking at improving install reliability as well as faster download speeds. John, I won't speak for you, but the Microsoft Store on PC is by far my slowest download. It's not even close. So I am very happy about increased download speeds.
Yeah, Microsoft Store on the PC is hot garbage, and that's a nice way of putting it. It feels like it's limited. It feels like it literally restricts your computer from being able to download at its full capability. Now, again, let me team that up with the fact that I just got an Xbox Series X, and I downloaded a 70 gig game in like 20 minutes. That would not happen on the PC version. Like it's ridiculous how the PC Windows Store is just absolutely throttled when it comes to downloading. It's insane.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm curious to see what way they end up taking this. Like if we eventually see the Microsoft Store on PC, is it called the Microsoft Store or the Windows Store? I actually don't even know. Let's see here. What is this thing called? Microsoft Store. So the Microsoft Store on PC, I'm wondering if it gets completely overhauled altogether, or if they do end up splitting it almost into like an Xbox on PC store, because then Xbox could run it. They could run the same interface as they currently have on the console. And I really like that interface. I think it's probably one of the best stores right now in gaming. So we'll see what direction they end up taking. They're looking at a fall release for that. And again, increased download speeds is one of the major factors they're looking to deliver on. So we'll see if they're able to. On top of that, a couple other store changes here, dev-friendly changes. They're going to allow developers to host their own apps and push out their updates via their own CDN. This is a big one. This is very much in line with what Steam and Epic currently do. With Windows right now, you have to go through all of these approvals, and it almost becomes like Apple, where you won't necessarily get something approved and on the store in the same day. Like it could take a couple days for it to go through approvals, and very much like Apple and Microsoft, you see some of these releases or updates delayed because of that. So moving forward, they're going to allow developers to have a little bit more of their own appeal in that area, where they can push updates forward whenever they want to. So if they need to hot fix something, it can come out that same day as opposed to waiting 2 days in a queue. So that's a big win for developers. The other one, Microsoft will be matching Epic Games' 88% revenue for developers. So they're currently at a 70-30 cut, with developers taking 70% of the revenue. This is going to move toward that 88%. So it'll be 88-12 moving forward. And them, along with Epic, are hoping to kind of push Steam in that direction too, to see if they want to compete on that front. But similar to like some of the moves we see on console with PlayStation, Steam is very much in the lead. They don't really necessarily have to compete with the Microsoft Store or Epic too much at the moment. So I don't know if we'll see that revenue change anytime soon, but at least for now, another store moving that direction. Couple other things came out of that article, just to run through them quickly. Games Age of Empires 4 is coming out later this year for fans of the RTS genre. xCloud has launched into beta for PC. That happened last month. And then the last thing they mentioned on the game front was there were 100 plus games already added to Game Pass for PC so far in 2021 alone. So that about wraps it up as far as that goes. The article is huge. We just pulled out a couple bullet points. If you guys want to check it out, if you're a PC gamer or an Xbox gamer on PC, it's definitely worth looking into. The other thing that came out from Microsoft, and the last thing for that part, is the Halo Infinite update for the month. So it was based on PC, and just to run through a couple bullet points, because that article is freaking massive as well. It's going to support crossplay for multiplayer and cross progression when it releases later this year. A lot of people assume this was coming. It is. Now it's official. It's also going to include highly desirable features such as support for ultra-wide and super-wide monitors. You're looking at triple keybinds if you want to get super fancy with your keybinds. There's going to be a couple other graphical options as well that are not currently in titles. To my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I believe this is the first-party Microsoft game outside of their acquisitions that has been officially built for the PC from the ground up. So it will be a little bit of a learning curve, I have a feeling, for Microsoft on that front. But it seems like they are approaching it the right way, at least to kick things off. Another concern with people is, okay, so crossplay. Controller players have aim assist. It's a big advantage for them compared to people on mouse and keyboard versus mouse and keyboard, where people can click heads with a sniper rifle a lot quicker. How is that going to be evened out? They're saying it can be toggled on or off for crossplay for social and custom games. So if John and I want to play Griffball and he's on console and I'm on PC, perfectly fine. We can do it whenever we want. Same with custom games like your social games like Slayer, anything like that. If you go to competitive, it's not going to go off of your platform. It's going to go off of your inputs. So whatever you're doing as far as mouse and keyboard versus controller. So the way it is now, you can play on a PC with a controller and pair up competitively in a ranked playlist with your friend on Xbox with a controller as well. Or if your friend on Xbox has a mouse and keyboard, that's also fully integrated onto console now. So he can play mouse and keyboard and you can play mouse and keyboard on PC. So it's going to go off the input selection type as opposed to the console itself or the platform. So that's just one other thing to keep in mind there. Last but not least, we got a number for sales for Halo MCC on PC. It has sold 10 million copies so far, 10 million new players joining in, most of those new to the franchise. So Halo Infinite will probably be a giant launch later this year is what all this means. But they're going to attempt to do their best of supporting the PC audience. So those coming from console who maybe have moved to PC, or those looking to jump into the franchise from PC. Hopefully this means good things to come. But for now, all we do is read articles and see what actually gets implemented later this year when it launches. Okay, that's a lot of Halo and Microsoft. I know, guys. That was quite a bit. John's still alive over there. He's still ticking. Hopefully the audience is too. But those blog posts are huge, guys. They're probably like 20 or 30 pages. So this is the best summary we came up with these 10, 15 bullet points from them. If you guys want to read them yourselves, go ahead and check them out. I believe they're both on Xbox Wire. And they're definitely worth reading if you want to learn about every integrate feature. But as far as that goes, these are the major ones. Sliding into some game updates and leaks, GSC Game World has announced that there are no current plans for Stalker 2 to come to PlayStation 5, also PS4 or Xbox One. So this is purely an Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S as well as PC game for now. It will launch on both of those into Game Pass on day one as well. Separately, there was a leaked document floating around about Microsoft having an agreement for 3 months of exclusivity. This has become one of those kind of console war fuel things as well, where PlayStation fanboys are coming out saying, hey, at least we get 1 to 2 years of console exclusivity when we make these deals. And Microsoft's like, well, maybe we made a bad move here. As far as the fanboys, Microsoft itself is probably perfectly fine. This, to me, John, is the more type of deals we're going to see with exclusivity moving forward. With Microsoft, I don't think they necessarily care about you going out and buying a console. Like, yes, if you're going to go buy a console, they say that's great. But what they really want you to do is subscribe to Game Pass. So if you give 1 to 3 months of exclusivity, say it's going to launch first on Game Pass, they're going to say that's enough for them, and they really don't care from there forward.
Yeah, I mean that's a great deal. I feel like it's every show we talk about the Game Pass and how it is a really good deal. Yeah, I mean sometimes having that 3-month exclusivity is all you need. The fact that MLB The Show launched on Game Pass was absolutely massive, and a lot of PlayStation fanboys were incredibly upset about it. That they're gonna have to pay $70 for a game that's included on a $10 a month subscription on Xbox. Yeah, I think it's something as simple as even just being available on launch day on the Xbox Game Pass is enough to get people to buy the Game Pass, let alone 3 months of exclusive rights to it. Just, I mean, I don't think they have to argue for anything more. I mean, it just goes to reinforce how great of a deal Game Pass really is.
Yeah, and I really think that's the key at this point moving forward. Like, you're going to see exclusivity deals made, and some will be permanent, some will be year runs like we see with Sony a lot. But overall, I think both of them will eventually move to that degree where they want you to subscribe to their service, whether it be Game Pass, whether it be PlayStation Now, whether it be whatever PlayStation develops to try to combat Game Pass, if that's now or some other evolution of a service. I think that's what they're going to start pushing more towards. It's going to be toward those subscription models. So we'll see how it develops over time, but I expect this to be more and more common as we move forward. And that's if this leak document's even real to begin with. Last bit of gaming stuff, and then we're going to dive a little bit into some Star Wars stuff before May 4th. So according to a few well-known industry insiders, I believe this was Jez Corden kicking things off over at Windows Central. It is believed that IO Interactive has signed a deal with Microsoft to publish their next title, believed to be a medieval fantasy game titled Project Dragon. This is being developed by IO's new Barcelona studio, if all of this ends up being true. Overall, this is the developers behind Hitman, the developers behind the new James Bond origin story style game. So it's a little bit of a different style game going medieval. It also sounds like it's going to be some kind of third-person Diablo style game. Again, all according to rumors, this one coming from Jeff Grubb. I think this is interesting. I think it's another good way of going out and making those partnerships. We've seen Sony do it a couple times. We've seen Microsoft, Nintendo as well, going out and finding those third parties, whether it be a limited exclusive, a console exclusive, some kind of exclusive content, which I'm not a big fan of different little things like that. I would rather it be just a full exclusive for these people. But overall, I like the idea that they're finding a new developer, someone who just moved into a new studio. It's a developer that's very well known, but with a new team. How can we integrate them into our system? How can we partner up with them early on? Sony did it with Jade Raymond with her new studio, and now you see Microsoft doing something similar here with IO. So definitely want to keep an eye on Project Dragon over there. That will end it for a little bit of gaming and news and stuff there. Diving into a little bit of upcoming stuff for this week. One of those big things being Star Wars. But before that, it is your weekly reminder. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is free to download through May 14th as part of PlayStation's Play at Home program. If you have not already, please do it. It was either Game of the Year winner or a Game of the Year nominee. Definitely worth checking that one out if you haven't already. And no one turns down free, so go ahead and grab that one while it lasts.
I've turned it down.
Okay. Apex Season 9 Legacy kicks off tomorrow as well. You can jump into that new 3v3 arena mode. I believe, what is it, Valkyrie, I think is the new hero coming into Apex. So a lot of new stuff from weapons to heroes to abilities to a little bit of lore, a new game mode, all of that action dropping down tomorrow. Again, Apex Season 9 Legacy. Go ahead and check that one out. Okay, John, let's talk Star Wars. I'm excited for this. May the 4th is tomorrow. You already have your nice little mug over there, your Mandalorian glass or something. What was it, a glass? Yeah, there you go. A little tumbler. A little Mandalorian action, which we might see some Mandalorian stuff tomorrow. We'll have to see what is in store. John, as far as games go, though, we know there's some Star Wars games in development. I've heard rumors of like 5 to 7 so far. Recently, we heard stuff about a possible Mandalorian game in development. We know Lego Star Wars is in development. It has been delayed, at least from its May release date. This is like its third delay, originally slated for an October 2021 release. I think it still comes this year, but I think it'll be closer to that fall time, probably about a year delay. What other kind of Star Wars games would you like to see? There's the Coda remake we've talked about as well. Do you think we see any of these tomorrow, and are there any you're in particularly hyped for?
Knights of the Old Republic is if somehow they are so far enough that they can show like revised graphics, gameplay, how everything has changed, that would be enough to hold me over. They could stop the stream right after that. They could stop the announcements, and I'd go home happy. You know, I really don't know what to expect. I feel like I don't want to set the bar too high, because we've seen how the pandemic has affected other game studios. We've seen how developers struggle to meet deadlines because they're all working from home. And there's just all these different hurdles they have to go through. And then also we have to remember the backlash of Cyberpunk. And that's the last thing anybody at Disney, Lucas Games, Lucasfilms Games, or wherever the heck they're called now, EA, and anybody else who's working on these things, that's the last thing they want to do is push something out that could tarnish the name of Star Wars. So it's one of those things where I feel like we will get some content. I don't think it's going to be anything too earth-shattering, but if it's Knights of the Old Republic, I feel like that could be like the big shebang. If we're just talking strictly video games, I feel like that would be absolutely massive. The Mandalorian would be second best. An announcement of that, or a preview, or some kind of imagery of that game. Obviously, a lot of people are waiting for the Lego game. Any kind of update there, I think people would be really happy with. I think Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, I think if there's an update for that, people would be happy. I think if Star Wars The Old Republic MMORPG game that is still kicking, that has millions of players still, I feel like if they announce an expansion for that or some kind of content update for that, I think that a lot of people would be really, really happy for that as well. I feel like there's not a lot they can do wrong other than not saying anything. So I'm keeping the bar fairly low with what I'm expecting, just because of the pandemic and what we've seen from other developers when it comes to video game development and releasing things on time. But at the same time, if I see anything Knights of the Old Republic related, I might literally just sprint around my office. I'd be so happy.
Well, we know some Knights of the Old Republic stuff is in the works.
Yeah.
Asper Media, we talked about it in January. They're definitely working on something in that vein. I believe it's going to be a remake. There might be a couple different changes coming out with it, and they might have some other stuff planned for the future as well. But that is one that could be shown. It's not on my list. But now that you bring it up, I would not be surprised if we see something there. It could also be shown later in the summer as well. E3 or Summer Game Fest. It could be in that timeline to have something ready. Lego Star Wars, I think you definitely see something. I think you get some kind of trailer. I think you get some information maybe on the characters available. You're going to have 500 playable characters. You're going to be able to go through these 300 maps or whatever it's going to end up being. I think they throw numbers at you. I think they're going to tell you like number of characters, number of maps, just big information, how massive this game is, partly to just make it sound amazing, which is going to be, but partly to come out there as well and to say, hey, this is why it's taking us so long, because we're implementing this many characters and this many abilities and this many maps and zones and different things. And I think it includes Rogue One as well. So that's going to kind of play into that storyline too. Maybe they even added some Mandalorian stuff and that led to some of the delays. There really could be a number of things that went on. But at the very least, I think you get a new trailer and at least maybe not an official release date, but a new release window, which I think is going to be fall 2021. Or maybe they even push it a little bit further to holiday. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think you get Lego tomorrow. I'm pretty confident on that one.
Yeah.
As far as some other, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, just reading chat here, I like what Eric's saying about feeling pretty confident about Fallen Order 2. If you have not played Jedi Fallen Order right now, by all means, get it. It will be on sale tomorrow as part of the May the 4th celebration. That it's going to be on there along with a couple other Star Wars titles for sale, like Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2. So definitely check it out. It's definitely worth playing. And if you're on the next gen Xbox console, that's going to be one of the games getting that frame rate update here in the next couple months or so. So that's definitely going to be worth getting. And I believe it is a part of the Game Pass already. So definitely freaking check that game out. And if Jedi Fallen Order 2 drops tomorrow, I think that would be right up there with Knights of the Old Republic with making me sprint around my office.
Yeah, so Jedi Fallen Order, like John said, EA, it's going to be on Game Pass for PC and console. And those frame rate boosts, I believe PlayStation gets them as well. I think it's coming this summer, and I think it's going to be Xbox and PlayStation are both getting boosted from Respawn over there. So definitely worth checking out. Again, you can wait a couple months if you want to wait for those boosts to come out. But while it's on sale and it'll be on Game Pass for the foreseeable future, definitely worth checking that one out. Really good original story. As far as Fallen Order goes, I think there's a possibility of seeing it tomorrow. I personally don't think you'll see it tomorrow. Um, Last I heard, they were holding it off to the summer because they weren't sure if it was going to be ready to be shown in time. But knowing Respawn, they're pretty good at getting stuff together. They're one of the, let's call them the fastest working studios in the industry right now, as far as quick turnaround times. I mean, Star Wars Fallen Order dropped in 2019? So this would be about a year and a half since that drop that we would end up seeing Fallen Order 2 out here. Some of that stuff does carry over from engine to engine, but overall, this would be a pretty quick turnaround to be seeing things. Even the summer would be pretty quick, especially given COVID. So while I'm not going to say it's not impossible, because it's very possible that it could happen, and this is a huge day for Star Wars fans, it'd be a great way to go ahead and pop that one out there. But if one gets pushed to another stage, I think it's a good chance of it being Fallen Order 2. So don't get your hopes up too high. Maybe go into it hoping for it, but not expecting it. And we'll see what happens from there as far as that one goes. Trying to think of what else I want to say here. Chat talking about a High Republic game, OG Flavortown. I've heard rumors of a High Republic game. I don't know if that one's actually in development, but that one's been thrown around a little bit. Battlefront 3, I will tell you guys, I am very much not expecting anything to be shown. If anything is shown, it'll be a logo, and that's going to be about it, pretty much. That game is very, very early in development, and the team has been moved off of it. They are currently working on another game at the moment to assist to make sure it gets out in time, and that is Battlefield. So I do not think they're working on Battlefront at the moment, and I do not expect that one to be, if it's shown again very, very quickly, I think you'll probably see it at Star Wars Celebration next year is where the full reveal will come out, but that's just based on some rumors and stuff I've heard on that front. I think there's going to be another EA game dropping this year for Star Wars. I think it's going to be ready. No one has really talked about it to my knowledge yet. It's going to be, let's call it like a shorter game, kind of like similar to Squadrons, where it'll be something much, much smaller. It's not going to be like a Battlefront scale or a Fallen Order scale. Even that Nintendo Switch game, like Hunters or whatever it was called, I think it'll be a little bit more toward that scale, story-based though, as opposed to multiplayer. And I think it's going to be ready to drop later this year. So you might get a trailer in May. But again, COVID has changed things, so you never 100% know. But that's the other game I do think gets revealed tomorrow, potentially. Sorry, guys, I can't say too much more than that. But I am stoked. I think it's good. I think we'll get like 1 to 3 game reveals overall. I think Lego Star Wars is a guarantee. I think there's a chance at 1 to 2 more, whether they're Fallen Order, whether there's this other game that potentially gets shown. I don't think the Mandalorian game will be ready to be shown. From what I've heard, it's very early in development. So I don't think we'll see that one unless my sources are not too good on that. But overall, gamers should be happy. We're a gaming podcast, Sean, so we don't have to dive too much, but I know you and I are both pretty stoked for Bad Batch to drop tomorrow as well. There's probably new books getting announced. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a new movie or two or show, like Obi-Wan they might talk a little bit about. There's a couple other in development that might get announced too. So overall, there's a lot of good Star Wars stuff. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Let's not gatekeep any fans out there, fam. Also, OG Flavortown in chat, just to shout it out. Podcast. He does a podcast. It is a wonderful podcast, John. If you could pull up a link for that as well. He's going to do a live show tomorrow on his Twitch stream, and he's doing it on location, and that's going to be twitch.tv/OG Flavortown. If you guys want to check that out, it's going to be sometime around 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And it's going to be a little fun on-location stream. We'll see what he has in store for that. But great when it comes to depth of knowledge in Star Wars. John has called him a living holocron. He's called himself a Jedi archivist. Very intelligent, very knowledgeable when it comes to Star Wars, and definitely one worth looking into, tuning into tomorrow, as well as subscribing to his podcast as well.
I threw up the Spotify link because I do everything on Spotify, and I put the name of the podcast on there as well, available on multiple podcatchers, so definitely check that out. It is absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of the show and of Eric, so definitely check out his live stream tomorrow as well, and his podcast. It's freaking amazing.
And I don't know if we said the name for the podcast listeners. It is Starlight Beacon Transmissions. So if you guys want to check that out on your podcatcher, I think it's on quite a few out there. Definitely worth the download and sub. Anything else you want to touch on for Star Wars? I know we're very excited. I know we're waiting with anticipation of what will be shown here and what will be shown in the summer and what may not be ready to be shown yet. But overall, lots of good Star Wars hype going around right now.
Anakin did nothing wrong. The Jedi Council is a fraud. Moving on.
With that being said, we're going to slide into our next bit here. Xbox's Golden Week sale to honor Japanese video game creators runs until May 5th. So if you guys are looking for a sale for Star Wars stuff, that is tomorrow. If you're looking for a sale on any kind of Japanese-based developed game or Japanese-inspired game, that sale runs until May 5th, so you have an extra day on that one. Definitely check that out. Between the Star Wars sale and that sale, you're looking at, I believe it's somewhere north of like 75, 80 titles on sale. Some of those up to like 70% discounts. So it is highly likely that you can find a game you would like between those. Now, whether you should be buying a game at this point, that's up to you guys. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but there are a lot of very, very good sales running right now. So if you're looking to buy games, now is probably a good time to take a look at doing so.
Enjoy. How about you tweet that advice?
No, I am staying out of stock market advice. That tweet went too viral, and they can call me if they want me on my OTN phone. We'll see what happens there.
My OTN phone. Like you have a burner OTN phone.
I can just block easily. Game Pass, May 1st through May 13th. The titles got released today as far as what's coming. May 4th, you have Dragon Quest Builders 2 coming out on console and PC. May 6th brings FIFA 2021 to console and PC. Outlast 2 to console, cloud, and PC. Steep to cloud and console. And then next week on May 13th, you have Final Fantasy XX2 HD Remaster coming to console and PC. Just Cause 4 Reloaded, cloud, console, PC. Psychonauts, the cult classic before Psychonauts 2 releases later this year. That one's coming to cloud, console, PC. Red Dead Online, cloud, console. And then last but not least, Remnant from the Ashes, PC. So quite a few games coming out there for Game Pass. I believe it's like 10, something right around there for the next couple weeks, with more coming out later this month. You'll have to wait to see what those will be. Last but not least, for upcoming, John, there is another event in a game, and that is Rainbow Six. They've announced a new limited time event called Apocalypse. I think this is different from Quarantine and Infection and whatever else those teaser names were for that other game coming later this year. This event is going to run in Rainbow Six Siege from May 4th to May 18th, if you guys want to check it out. Okay, let's slide into a little bit of esports before we wrap up today's show. There's just so much going on, John, and there's a lot to look forward to, guys, this week, and there's going to be a lot of announcements. Whether it be Star Wars Day tomorrow or a little bit down the road, maybe like Thursday, there's going to be a lot of different things announced this week and in the next couple of weeks. Think of May as kind of like we did not make it into E3, or this did not make it into our summer show for Summer Game Fest. We're going to announce it now kind of thing. It seems like every publisher, from what I've heard, instead of leaving it to the end of the summer, they're going to push those announcements that didn't quite make their briefings and showcases to the beginning of the summer. So you're probably going to see a lot of announcements later this week, as well as through the rest of May. To my knowledge, Battlefield's trailer is dropping this week. It hasn't been officially announced, but I think that's dropping later this week. It might get pushed to next week, but it'll be coming here soon, as well as a number of other surprises that we'll leave behind the curtain for now, but it should be a fun week ahead. Sliding over to Overwatch League with May Melee, John, we have our qualifiers. Unfortunately, our hometown Washington Justice did not make it in. They had a tough match up against the Florida Mayhem. Florida getting the best of them in that match. The Justice still looking nice and mighty there at 4-0 in the regular season. But as far as May Melee goes, they did not slide on in, as we do have our bracket set. For the East number 1 seed, it is the Chengdu Hunters. The East number 2 seed, the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai is going to take on the West number 1 seed of Florida Mayhem, while the West number 2 seed of the Dallas Fuel will go up against the Hunters. We have had an outstanding track record as far as predicting these brackets for the last couple of seasons. Now that I say that, we're probably going to completely bomb out on this one. But what are your thoughts on this bracket and how it shook up? I know a lot of teams people are surprised by. There's no San Francisco Shock. There's no Washington Justice. There is no Houston Outlaws. So a lot of big upsets happening across the board here. But overall, a pretty solid set of 4 teams going into the May Melee.
Joey, is it even really a tournament if the Justice aren't in it? I mean, I'm not trying to be a homer, but like it's just facts. Congratulations. I officially don't care about the May Melee. How did Dallas get in? Like how did Dallas qualify? That's fine. Whatever. I mean, good for Florida. And they somehow beat the Justice. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and predict that the Hunters will take down the Fuel and the Dragons will take down the Mayhem. I don't see either one of them doing well against the Eastern Conference there. They'll drop down to the losers bracket. They'll battle it out, so on and so forth. And then Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just say the Hunters take it all. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now.
The Hunters to take it all. Oh, the Fusion didn't make it in either. That was the other big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward the Hunters as well, kind of the exact same way you have it falling. At least for now, I think the East is just such a question mark. I haven't watched too many of their games overall. When you look at the West, we've seen teams like Houston do very well, the Justice do very well, the Fusion do very well, or the Fusion, I guess, do fall in the East as well. So overall, there's a lot of power when it comes to the Western region, rather. And then to see Dallas move on in Florida, we're not sending the best teams, but they did take down the best teams. So they kind of became the default best teams heading into the bracket. So I'm curious to see how they do match up against those East teams. But as far as the East goes, there's a lot more consistency over there. We've seen Shanghai be pretty consistent the last couple of years, ever since their season one, really rough time in season one where it took them forever to get a win. They've kind of pulled things together and gotten better and better season over season. As far as Chengdu, they've kind of come out and surprised people so far this year. And I think they're going to be one to watch in this tournament. And I do, like you, John, think they take it in the end over here. Again, disappointed the Justice did not make it over there, sadly. But overall, it's a very long season. We're still very early on, just a couple weeks into the season now. And this is the first tournament coming up. So still plenty of like the Justice and a number of these other rosters throughout the league as they continue to move forward toward those playoffs later in the year.
I'm just going to say this real quick. Tell me a tournament where the number one overall seed has to play a play-in game. A play-in game. This is like, March Madness where like two number 11 seeds have to battle it out to figure out who's going to lose in the next round, or two number 16 seeds that the committee is like, oh, well, both of these teams are bad and are going to lose next round, but we want to make them feel good and their small little colleges feel good. So we're going to have them play together to see who has the honor of losing by 80 next round. But the number one seed, you never have a play-in for the number one seed, but apparently in Overwatch League you do. So anywho, it's rigged. The Justice got absolutely shafted. I will file my complaint to Blizzard later. It's fine.
Yeah, it is interesting that you bring that up. Like, as far as the bracket goes, you would think like those top seeds might get some kind of bye. Maybe they make it a 6-team tournament instead. We're a little biased here, coming from the Justice perspective, obviously.
No.
In the end, you do have 4 pretty solid teams making their way over there with upsets coming through and them making ways of pulling those upsets off to eventually make their way there. But yeah, I agree. The number one seed having to play in a play-in before a major tournament like this did kind of feel a little bit off, especially not having much time to prepare for those matches. You would think that a top seed like that would at least have some kind of advantage, whether it be in preparation or getting that automatic bye through round 1 for the actual tournament happening at the event. But yeah, so here we are. Shanghai Dragons up against Florida Mayhem. Dallas Fuel, Chengdu Hunters. That is happening May 6th is when that kicks off. Sliding down to a little bit of an international event going on here in esports, and that is League of Legends heading to MSI, John. We've done our predictions a very long time ago, so we'll just kind of refresh there as I pull it up. In Group A, which I just slid past, here we go. We did have the Vietnam team have to sit out once again. I believe that was Gigabyte Marines, if I remember correctly. They're not able to make it over due to COVID violations or COVID restrictions, rather. So that group did get bumped down to 3. We have Royal Never Give Up, Unicorns of Love, and Pentanet.gg. If I remember correctly, you and I are both taking Royal Never Give Up and Unicorns of Love, respectively, in the top 2 spots.
Yes. I was trying to pull it. I was trying to pull it up. I'm sorry.
I love it. Over in Group B, we have Mad Lions, PSG Talon, Istanbul Wildcats, and Pain Gaming. Mad Lions, the obvious favorite here, coming from the LEC. A very strong playoff performance there, taking down teams like G2 en route to eventually moving forward for their first LEC championship. A couple of teams here, PSG Talon impressed in Worlds last year, able to take a couple upsets here and there. Pain Gaming from Brazil, also a team that always seems to make some noise at these international events. What is your Group B looking like, sir, as far as who will advance for the top 2?
I like Mad Lions in here. I kind of want to give PSG Talon the advantage. So I'm going to go, those are your top 2 out of this group.
I like it. Yeah, I'm going to go Mad Lions, PSG, then Pain Gaming in that third spot with Istanbul Wildcats falling a little bit farther down. So yeah, overall should be a slightly intense group. I think Mad Lions probably walks away with it overall, but that second spot could be up for grabs, potentially depending on how strong PSG looks heading into group play. Over to Group C, the final group, you have Damwon Gaming, the world champions, as well as the champions of South Korea this year at the LCK. Cloud9 of NA, Infinity Esports, and Detonation Focus Me, the team over in Japan that continues to make noise at international events. I think we're both pretty safely saying Damwon comes out in first, and I have a feeling we're both leaning toward Cloud9 in second.
See, once again, how can you put the #1 seed from North America into this group? It just doesn't make any sense. These tournament organizers are just trying to absolutely demolish #1 seeds by making them play in these groups when they really don't have to. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say Cloud9. I think this is really your group of death. I feel like second place is going to be hotly contested in this group. I'm going to lead Cloud9, not just because I'm a Cloud9 fan, but because I do think they would be able to pull it out. I think it's going to be a challenge for them. I think if Cloud9's inconsistencies rear their ugly heads once again in international play, then they don't even come close to finishing second in this group. But I will give Cloud9 the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to squeak them in at #2.
Excellent. So Cloud9 getting the second spot for John. I'm going to take Cloud9 as #2 as well. Don't sleep on Detonation Focus Me. Yeah. They could take a game off of Cloud9 potentially. They're usually a team that comes up with a little bit of a creative draft strategy coming into it. Sometimes it'll catch teams off guard. Whether it's enough to catch Cloud9 off guard as well as mechanically enough to push them through, that's a whole nother question. But they're definitely one to keep an eye on potentially in this tournament. Group play is going to kick off, I believe, on the 6th. Yes, Thursday, May 6th, for those listening to the podcast later down the line. It's kicking off with Damwon and Cloud9 at 8 a.m. Central Time, it looks like. This is according to Esports. So if everything's right over there, it should be some good early morning action coming out for those of us East Coasters. And some good action overall. It's always fun to see international play come a little bit earlier in the year. Rift Rivals was a little bit lackluster, but MSI typically delivers with some good games here and there. It also gives us a little bit of a size up of how does the LEC and the LCS look compared to some of these strong Eastern teams from the LCK and LPL, that being Korea and China respectively. So we'll see how it all shakes up in our first international event for League of Legends. Again, this one in person and in Iceland, as we talked about previously. So heading back to some of those in-person matches for international competition for League as well. That about wraps it up. We'll dive into Valorant a little bit later. There were some matches that happened this past week. I'll probably dive into those on Thursday as we are eclipsing an hour at this point. So I think we're good to wrap it up unless there's any other gaming or esports news on your mind, good sir.
May the 4th be with you all. How about that?
That was riveting. The excitement just oozing out of you right there is just hard to control.
I'm excited to whoop your butt in some MLB The Show after the podcast is what it's really coming down to. I'm saving my energy for those 465-foot home runs I'm about to hit off your pitcher. So we'll just do that.
We will see what happens.
Has nothing to do with we will see, Joey. I average 6 runs on you every game. Nation, I'm not going to let Joey respond to that, but that will do it for this edition of Level Up Live. Before you go, head on over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are parts of OTN Media. If you have not already done so, make sure you follow the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of Level Up Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, please do leave us a review. Level Up Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from the entire Level Up Nation so much. There are multiple ways for you to reach out to us. Joey, what are those ways?
Absolutely. Level Up Nation, head on over to Twitter and find us at Level Up Live. That is LVL UP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media as well on Facebook and Twitter at OTN Media and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow, a like, a subscribe, a Twitch Prime sub. Any of that is very welcome, but just come hang out and chat. Twitch.tv/OTN Media. This show, Level Up, live on Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
All right, make sure you tune in this upcoming Thursday, May 6th, as we cover latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of Level Up Live is ready for your listening and viewing pleasures. We'll catch you all on Thursday. Have a fantastic week. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online, and as always,
level up.